This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and we cover a lot of high-end products that not everybody can afford. This time, I'm pretty excited about this. This is the Acer Aspire Switch 11. Now, we reviewed the Switch 10 a ways back when it first came out. 10-inch Intel Atom, two-piece design, sort of like this. You know, 10 inches a little bit small, 11.6 inches, getting close to the sweet spot. And even better, you can get this with Core i3, and in some places even a Core i5 processor. But the Core i3 model that we're looking at right here is only $499 at places like MicrosoftStore.com. They tend to have pretty aggressive prices. You get a full HD 1080p display, a separable design right here, and it even works with an optional pen. So for those of you who really like Surface Pro 3 but you can't quite afford it, we're going to look at it now. So this is the Acer Aspire Switch 11. Like I said, we've looked at the Switch 10 when that came out, and I guess that did pretty well for Acer because now they have, well, bigger switches. 11-inch right here, actually 11.6 inch. The nice thing about it is a full HD 1920 by 1080 IPS display. Very nice looking display, reasonably bright. It's about 260 nits of brightness, so it's not mind-numbingly bright, but it's adequate enough. Very sharp, good colors on it. 10 points of multi-touch supported, so that's important because why? This is a tablet, and this is magnetically attached. There's no latches or anything on here to release. It's a pretty strong magnet. You could pick it up, actually, you know, and it's not going to drop anything, although I would be careful if it was mine and do that. But it's pretty easy to release at the same time. Here we got the docking ports right there and the actual physical connector. So you can use this as a tablet if you want to. 1.78 pounds, a little bit heavier than Surface Pro 3, but not too bad given the fact that this is full Windows here and a Core i3 processor. It has the Core i3-4012Y, so obviously it's a Y series lower powered CPU. It can go up to 15 watts, but it's designed to use about 4.5 watts on average. Core M would be the natural successor. Doesn't look like Acer is looking to jump into that right away, though, because they say that this model will continue to be on sale till spring, summer of 2015, so they're not going to be refreshing it tomorrow. You don't have to worry about that. Anyway, it looks a lot like a lot of other Acer Windows tablets that we've looked at about this size range, going back to the Acer P3 and some of the others, and you have genuine artisanal plastic back here. In other words, it's finished to look like brushed metal, but it is plastic. But given the price on this, the fact that you can pick this up with the keyboard dock for $500, I'm not going to complain about plastic. It's reasonably sturdy, you know, it doesn't flex or anything like that. It's not gorgeous looking. It's not super skinny either. As you can see here, the industrial design is what I would call, well, plain. It's got a kind of textured, rougher feel here, and that's good for grip, so I'll give them that. This side here we have volume controls, because obviously you want to be able to control certain things when you're using it as a tablet. That's the power button that actually lights up when the charger is plugged in, makes it easier to find. Our Windows button on the side here, because there is not one on the front face. Your combo headphone mic jack right there, stereo, 3.5 millimeter. And on this side, one full-size USB 3.0 port. Usually tablets just have one port. We're happy when it's at least full-size these days. So we plug in the charger, and we have our micro HDMI there and a micro SD card slot. The speakers are right here on the front. Brilliant that they're front-facing. They are remarkably quiet, really, really quiet. Headphone volume is just fine, but these speakers are so on the dock section, which brings it up to 3.42 pounds, so not certainly any lighter than your average Ultrabook, we have another USB 3.0 port. So you actually get up to 2, which is similar to what Ultrabooks have, so that's pretty serviceable at that point. This is also genuine plastic, which is fine, except for it's pretty clacky. Now, for those of you who've looked at Surface Pro 3, you know the Type Cover Pro is also a fairly clacky one when it comes to the keyboard, but the hollowness of this is pretty apparent. So if that sort of noise drives you crazy, well, this will drive you crazy. This hinge is extremely stiff. It's just about impossible to move yourself without putting the tablet section in there first to move it. So no bounce, real sturdy, despite the fact it's plastic. And even though it's plastic, I can't flex this really hardly at all. Island style keyboard here, nice chiclet keys. They bring it out pretty much to the edges, so that's a good thing. No problems with the size of the keyboard. Granted, I am used to smaller devices in general, but pretty adequate, pretty good key travel too, as you can see there. And it depends on this connector up at the top here. This is not wireless or Bluetooth or anything like that. So if you want to use it, you got to plug them in together. The trackpad is pretty big and roomy. It's decent. It's not amazing. It's not awesome, but it gets the job done. This is not a backlit keyboard. In the budget segment, well, you're not going to get a backlit keyboard. And very few detachables actually have backlit keyboards. Putting them together, magnets just kind of drag it right in place, and it's usually pretty easy. I'm holding it at a funny angle now, so it took me a little extra effort there. You hear the sound where it acknowledges it. And stiff, you're going to need two hands, because if you try to just use one hand, it's going to run away on you. It's got rubber feet on the bottom that do help it a bit with that. And you can go as far back as about that. Wouldn't mind a little bit farther back, but since it is IPS with wide viewing angles, I think this is adequate. And of course, you can always detach it if you want to use it in your lap like a tablet as well. Speaking of which, to copy Lenovo's terminology, they refer to it as it does tent mode. It also does backwards mode, like so. So if you want to just use it to watch a video, surf the web, touch the screen while you're doing all that, there it is. That works just fine too. And you can tent it if you like tent mode. It takes up a little bit less space on the table that way, doesn't it? And that's where the stiff hinge comes in handy, so it's not going to creep and slowly open up on you or something like that. Works pretty well. Obviously it closes and you can hold it and use it just like a laptop here for transport, which is nice and sturdy and secure. So inside our review unit, 1.5 gigahertz, like I said, Core i3 4012Y, Y series CPU, so low power, not quite the power, obviously, of a Core i3 i5 U series CPU, but certainly adequate for productivity work if you're doing MS Office, email, light database work even. Photo editing, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. 720p video editing, okay. 1080p, you're going to wait a while for that export. It's not for those of you who constantly are exporting and manipulating full HD video or something like that, but for the average user, it's probably just adequate. For software development types, I would go for the full Core U series CPU for that sort of thing. You could do it. Your compile times will be, commensurately slow, but sometimes you're on a budget and you can't afford that full Core U series CPU like you would get in something like Surface Pro 3, which is about $1,000 or $1,130 with a Core i5 and a keyboard. It's a fanless design. That is a good thing about the Y series CPU, so you will never hear any noise out of this guy. It doesn't get terribly hot either, so good times there. Battery life, well, that's pretty good too, about 6.5 hours on average. It has a 32 watt-hour battery, which, given the low-power CPU and the relatively small size of the display, is plenty adequate. So, again, about the same as most Ultrabooks. The charger is compact enough. Typical of Acer, they always have these little white chargers right here, plenty of cord on it, so you won't have to be sitting very close to an outlet like some Intel Atom tablets that have really short cords on them. The tablet has dual-band Wi-Fi 802.11bgn, and that is Atheros Wi-Fi with MIMO. And reception, in fact, has been quite good with this. Helps, of course, the plastic chassis here. There's no metal to get in the way of reception, but we noticed better than average range, especially compared to some of today's Ultrabooks. Not bad at all. And, of course, there's Bluetooth 4.0 in combo with that card as well. For those of you who are looking to spend even less money and don't really need as much horsepower, there is an Intel Atom model. And that one's about $399, $379. I think the charm of this, honestly, is getting the Core CPU inside instead, because you do get some more horsepower. And also, the thing with Atom CPUs is they're bundled with eMMC, basically a non-removable MMC card, like an SD card sort of storage. This gets a full, real SATA SSD drive inside. Ours has a light-on SSD, and the performance on it is pretty darn good. Also has 4 gigs of DDR3 RAM inside, so pretty much you're looking at some pretty competent specs. And there are SSD results right here from Crystal Diskmark. Obviously, we're looking at a genuine, real SSD drive inside of this, so not bad again for the money. Pretty darn impressive. In terms of speed, it's just fine. Touch responsiveness is also very good. If we just want to look at something like Metro apps here, you can see how nice the screen is. Sharp and clear. You know, at 11.6 inches, 1920 by 1080 or full HD is plenty good enough. The whites are white on this. Overall, the color saturation is pretty darn good, especially given the price segment that we're looking at right here. And this is what the web browser looks like. We are at 125% scaling, both for the desktop and for the web browser. Things are very readable. Again, it's nice and sharp and clear looking. Not bad at all. And let's take a look at a video so you can see what video playback looks like and also hear the thoroughly anemic speakers in action. This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and here's an interesting piece right here. That's 66% volume, really. Before. They come in Android Windows players. In fact, we did the Lenovo Yoga Tablet 2 Pro, which is the 13.3-inch That's 84%. Projector. This is the 13-inch Windows version here. So that's the Lenovo Yoga Tablet That's 100. 2 with Windows. 13-inch. A lot to say right there. Comes with the keyboard. So you won't be buying this one for the speakers, obviously. Given how loud the trackpad is, you barely will be able to hear anything over the sound of the trackpad. The keyboard, not nearly as bad. Some vibration there. But other than the speakers, really, it's just hard to fault this at the price. It's pretty quick, it's pretty competent, and there's one more neat feature here. It works with the optional pen, not included in the box. Why don't they include them in the box, right? It's a Synaptics pen, but don't run away and say, oh my God, you've seen my Dell Venue Pro review where the Synaptics pen was kind of quacky. Got better with the HP split that we looked at. The 13-inch also has Synaptics technology. This one is so far really the best yet. The technology, the firmware is improving, and we have two different pens here we're going to try. This is the HP pen, and this is the second generation of the Dell pen. They're all really interchangeable pens. They both work equally well. We don't have the Acer pen on hand. I certainly don't expect it would work any worse than these, and we're going to see how it works. First, we're going to try Fresh Paint because, well, it's free and it's pretty much on every tablet, so. And we'll start off with the pencil tool. There is pressure sensitivity here. You have to press harder than you should have to. We've seen this at first. Intrigue used to have that problem too, where the calibration wasn't right. This obviously does not use a WinTab driver. This is not up to Wacom and Intrigue standards yet, both of which do have WinTab drivers. It's okay, but notice there's no vectoring, there's nothing weird happening. I could rest my palm on the screen if I wanted to, and sometimes that will cause it to miss a stroke when you do that, but you don't get any vectoring, any odd lines created. My hand is on the glass right now. Now let's try a program that works a bit better. This is Autodesk Sketchbook 7, and the pen is actually working pretty well for drawing. We do the usual geometric to make a face right here. Let's draw a nose. I'm drawing pretty quickly and pretty naturally, and we can get pressure sensitivity. So I want this person really dark eyebrows, for example. It's working really well, and this is certainly leagues better than using a capacitive stylus, which lacks true pressure sensitivity and has no palm rejection. I've been resting my knuckle on the screen the whole time, so this is really the best I've seen from Synaptics yet. And it's pretty darn usable. Granted, it's not up there with Wacom and Intrigue just yet, but for an affordable solution that gets you into some drawing right here, for anything that works with the modern Windows Ink API, again, something like Corel Painter is out of the question because that still uses Intrigue. That won't be any good. So how about for note takers next? And now we're in Windows Journal, again, which is free, comes with the operating system, and allows you to do writing. You could also use Outlook if you want. See, once in a while it does miss a stroke. You're much better off writing script. Honestly, when you write script, it's not going to miss strokes, but when you pick up the pen, sometimes it doesn't pick up the next stroke so well. So let's just write script. See, much better. And then I lifted the pen off. Things get a little bit weird there. Anyway, it's a step in the right direction. It's the best synaptic solution we've seen yet for an actual real digitizer, active digitizer inside of a touchscreen tablet running Windows. So that's the Acer Aspire Switch 11 with the Core i3 and 128 gig SSD, 4 gigs of RAM, full 1080p IPS touchscreen with the digitizer there that works with the optional Synaptics pen. Honestly, for the price, it's pretty darn good. Like I said, as something more affordable than the Surface Pro 3, it's pretty darn attractive. Now, if you're a serious graphic artist, you're still going to want to go with Wacom or maybe Entrig. But for those of you who are doing for fun, casually, that sort of thing, the pen works well enough for that. And you get your yoga mode, you get your tent mode, you get all of this stuff going on for, well, $500 at Microsoft Store. Not bad. Even if you get it for $5.99 at Amazon or something like that, it's still really pretty decent machine for the price. It's not the thinnest, it's not the lightest, it's not the chicest, certainly, but it's reasonably sturdily built. It has a decent number of ports on it. It's hard to really complain about anything. It's nice. So that's the Acer Aspire Switch 11. It's available now. And again, the Core i3 model we're looking at here, $499 at the MicrosoftStore.com right now, $599 at other places. So it's hard to say where the price is going to end up. It's been out for not too long. Hopefully, you can pick it up at that price if you want. And the Intel Atom is a bit cheaper too. But anyway, as a affordable kind of two-piece convertible tablet alternative, something that actually has a rigid keyboard, it's not bad. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to visit our website for the full written review, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.